All right. We are live on air. This is Thursday, February 24th, and this is our design and usability meeting. We have a couple of items on the agenda, but before we get to that, I'd like to go around and do some quick introductions. If everyone could share what your name is, where you're from, and anything else you'd like to share with the group, you can go ahead and do that. And let's do popcorn. So I'll go first, and then I'll call on the next person, and then that person will call on the next person. My name is Jen Lampton. I am joining from Oakland, California, where it is sunny and beautiful, but unusually cold here. But my wonderful husband installed heat pumps in our house, and it is finally nice and warm inside. So I'm very excited. All right, Robert, let's go next.
I'm Robert Lang, a bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California, where it is also sunny but cool. I'll pass it to Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. And Greg.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Greece. Generally interested in anything related to backshop in any way that I can help. Let's go with Irina.
Hi, I'm Irina Zaks. I'm working for California. Today is not a very good day for me because I have lots of family and friends on the other side of the globe. So I'm trying to be as quiet today as possible, but work helps me to go through the day.
So I guess I'm last. I'm Sarvashri, and I'm in Walnut Cove, North Carolina, and just kind of monitoring development to see what goes on.
That's great. Thank you, everybody. For our discussion items this week, we have 2 items about the layout administration page. The first one is 5077. This is something that we were working on before the last minor release about how to make the layout page make a little bit more sense to people. In particular, the proposed solution separates the standalone pages from the pages that override other pages. And we tried to do that with a visual distinction as well as some minor descriptions about what they were. That pull request is in a needs code review, needs testing state. I don't think I can code review it because I worked on it, and I don't think Robert can code review it because he worked on it. So the two of us are like very excited about moving it forward, but can't really help anymore. So I'll ask anyone else who feels confident in doing code review. Greg's really good at that. Thank you. To have a look at that. And then anyone else who wants to see what we're doing to that page could go ahead and test it. I think it looks really good. And then Robert brought up our related issue. Do you want to give us an update on 5511?
Yeah, and this arose actually as a suggestion on 5077 that on the confirmation page for deleting a layout, that we give some warnings, and we also provide a button to allow the user to disable it rather than deleting it, since that's also problematic. And because if we delete it and it deletes a layout created page, that also could cause problems if that page happened to be one of the special pages like the home page, or the 404, or the 403 page. So all of that stuff relating to the deletion was broken out into this new issue, 5511. And so now it has a PR, and so I'd like people to test it, but because there's some human interface issues or user interface experience issues, I wanted to get feedback. And in particular, for if the path is, if it's a layout created page, and that page is being used as the home 403 or 404 pages, we probably don't want the person to be allowed to delete it, because that would cause very bad problems the next time one of those pages is brought up. So I was just disabling the delete and disable buttons, but still leaving them visible. And just my question was, should we do that, or should I actually remove the buttons? So
Mm,
Yeah, I have a thought. Oh, I don't know who else was that. Joseph, did you want to go first?
We have another use case in core where we have this the submit button disabled until we select something, and then it gets enabled, and actually the text changes as well. So it wouldn't be, I'm not saying that we should do it, but it wouldn't be a pattern that we haven't used before, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think my concern is that we, right now, if you're using like a node for any of those pages, you're allowed to delete the node. And I think that we have behaviors, I don't know about the home page, but I think for 403 and 404, we have a fallback behavior where it says, does the page exist? If not, return to system 403, system 404. I don't know if we need something like that for the home page. It's more important. Oh, Robert, go ahead.
yeah, so I tested this with the layout created page as the 404. And if you delete it and then you call for a non-existent page, you get a white screen with a little tiny 404 on it. So you do get a 404, but it's a pretty user unfriendly one.
Yeah, that sounds like not the system 404, which would be branded with your site information. Interesting. This might also involve follow-up issues, more follow-up issues to fix some of this other stuff. Not blocking, just I was thinking about it. Okay, so my thought is that there's also like an order of operations thing here, right? Where I don't think we want to have somebody like not be able to delete their layout override of the 404 page. Like they're going to need to know how to do that. They just also need to know that if they delete their layout override of the 404 page, they need to change the 404 setting to not use it, or we need to do that for them when they delete that page if it's being used for that. And I think that if we disable the button or remove it, that's going to create a much more frustrating user experience than if we enabled them to do what they wanted to do from that one page.
Well, the current PR does put up a message that says, this page is being used for such and such. Go to the link and change it, then come back to this page.
Yeah, I still think making them do that first, like why do they have to do that first? Like, can't they do that second? Can they do the layout and then go to the thing? I don't know that we need to enforce that. I think it's great that it has the message, but I'm not sure that we need to disable the ability to perform the action, especially if we can show the message again immediately after they've deleted the page. They do a warning, you need to delete the page, and then now you really need to delete the thing. But it would be even better if we could say, hey, this is the system 404 page, we know that because we tested it now, set some submit handler that'll change that value when you save this form. So it says like, this is a system 404 page. When you delete this, that will be reset or something like that. And then not have to have a person perform that action, but have the robot perform that action instead. I'm not sure that needs to be part of this PR. I think if this PR were just to set the messages and not disable the buttons, that would be a good enough first step. I think we could then follow that up. Like, I don't want that to block this with something that's like, hey, let's be nicer and perform these actions for people.
Yeah, from a workflow perspective, what I would do is keep the delete button, but have it red as danger, as it usually is. Provide the disable button, which is an option, and explain why they want to do that. It's safer. And then a confirmation, if they do decide to delete it, maybe a confirmation message that says your 404 and 403 have been reset to system defaults. Go and change them if you want, with a link to that page. I would prefer that as a workflow.
Would you throw a comment in on that?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. I can also do that too if you want more voices. But yeah, I love the fact that we're adding this whole set of disable features. So fantastic, with nice, helpful text.
Yeah. By the way, there was a discussion a really long time ago in Drupal land of discussion or suggestion for content editors specifically, always unpublish, never delete, which falls into that category. Like you could say always disable, never delete, unless you grow like a really big, large list of layouts, then you have to do cleanup, of course. But yeah, the safest is disable. So the second 5077 is the main issue. Which one was the follow-up that you said you wanted this? Is it 5511, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
5511.
Okay, cool.
Okay, next on the agenda is the contextual links discussion. Joseph, do you
Oh.
want to do this again?
Sure. Yeah. So I was working with some people yesterday, and they wanted to change the site logo, but were unable to figure out how to change it. And one of the first thing I noticed, one of the first things they tried was to use the contextual links on the header block. And so I was wondering if it would be a good idea to just add a link to the system information page to like edit system information on the header block. And then beyond that, like what sort of guidelines do we have or rules about what things should be in contextual links? Because I could see, like, if I started adding contextual links every time I needed to access something, I could see that really easily getting overloaded.
Excellent question. I'm not sure we have any rules or guidelines about what should be in contextual links.
My only comment on this specific case is how often does someone change the logo of the site? So that will happen, I don't know, once, twice, 3 times. But when it comes to things like editing blogs or the layout itself, then that's a different story. So there's a potential, and also this falls into the 80-20% thing, which is very, as we said, arbitrary. But yeah, I doubt that there's a site that daily or weekly changes their logo.
No, but it does also weigh
Right.
into the like first time user experience where it's the first thing people want to do. And if it's a really hard thing to do, it'll sort of set a not great first impression.
Right.
So I would say it's probably, 100% of sites will need to do it once. Whether they do it again is iffy. But that first time experience, I think, is important to consider too.
Yeah, and a lot of the sites that a lot of the backdrop sites that I maintain are more like sites for friends, and in a lot of these cases, I set up a site on the server, show them the basics, and then I'm like, all right, have fun, call me if something breaks. And for those people, I feel like having, like, they would never find the how to change the logo in backdrop. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the header block, including a contextual link to locate the things in the header, makes sense. I think the site name, the site slogan. Do we even have a slogan anymore?
We do.
We do.
Those are things that are all defined on the site information page. So I think one link to all of those things, the site name, site logo, and site tagline or whatever, can all be handled with one link. So it's, I don't know, it seems reasonable. For other things, maybe we should create some guidelines for people to know when it would be useful to add contextual links to blocks or not. I know for what we do in core right now, they appear anywhere the thing itself is content, like a note or a comment, and they appear on blocks where it's an administrative task as opposed to a content task. And then menus linked menu settings. So it's sort of like there aren't any rules, but there are patterns. And I would say and contrib modules have done this too, like node queue adds a contextual link to a view that uses a node queue that allows you to edit the queue directly. And that sort of sometimes an editorial task and sometimes an administrative task, depending on how you've configured your site to use it. So there's sort of a gray area there as to like who those links are for. I think in general, anytime we think it's going to be a huge time saver to be looking at the thing and want to change the thing you're looking at and have a link that goes directly to that thing, it's a good thing. I don't know if there's a scenario I can think of where there would be too many contextual links, but we can talk about that when we get there. I think for now, we sort of were erring on the side of too few, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Anyone else have thoughts? No.
I love them. So I think we're far from having too many anyway.
All right. Let's see. Oh, so next on the agenda, if there's nothing else for contextual links, Irina wanted to bring up the homepage design for backdropcms.org. I reached out to some designers last week after we talked about this, and I got us a new short-term design for the homepage. And this is done by Nika Lorber, who did the design for the current homepage and said, hey, we have this need to throw other stuff on our homepage all the time, and we just throw it above the header and it looks really terrible. Can you come up with a way to put more information on the page? And she came up with this in like an hour and was like, hey, here's a way you can handle, if you need to add blocks, we can just give you this backdrop sort of style logo block thing where you can throw up on the page. And she said you can adjust if you have one or two or three, depending on however many you have, it'll work. So Irina, short term, I think we should move our backdrop live event into one of these. If you want to do a featured site, I think that was the example you had on there too, that would be fine. My preference would be that it not be America's Best Bootfitters, but we can choose it. Newer site, maybe made by someone else. So I'll let you guys figure out what that one should be.
If you want to put solo there, I'd be perfectly happy with that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
I think solo would be my first choice if we can have it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a specific site. We can rotate among the various sites in the showcase so that we can give equal opportunity for everyone to sort of like showcase it. And also that I think will invite more people to add showcases.
That's a good idea. And anything else we want to throw on the homepage, we can use this style. So I'm currently working on doing this with a block class so that anytime we want to put a block in this region with this class on it, it'll get this style added to it. But bigger picture, this is only a short, quick fix for the homepage. I did also reach out to Darius Garza, who's our sort of brand ambassador, or brand director, who created the backdrop brand originally, and asked him if he wanted to help us with sort of a larger project for how to, reimagine backdrop's brand today as compared to how it was 10 years ago or whenever we started this thing, and see if the website needed an aesthetic update. And that was something that was in the forum recently. People were talking about needing an update, and he said that he was interested. So we haven't moved beyond I'm interested, but we are starting to move forward on the design angle of things and branding, I guess, more importantly. So my next question will be how do we want to move forward with this? I was hoping Tim would be here for this. I think we should, he's a fan of having committees. I think it would be good to set up a committee of people who can work with the designers on answering the questions they need and helping choose direction for this stuff. So Irina, I was thinking if you wanted to be on that committee, that would be a really great place for you to help sort of move this forward and help us land in something we think
happy to do that.
All right, I'm going to turn off my screen sharing. All right. Did you have any other concerns that were not addressed, Irina? This was your bullet point. I just wanted to, excited after I was like, I have a present for Irina, and you're here today. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. But I wanted to make sure that your concerns
It is indeed a big present. I'm very happy to see Nika here. I think she was like the other person that we worked with. So between Darius and Nika, it makes a great team. I think that the logo itself is actually very well designed because it gives a lot of opportunities for the variations, colors, designs. We're putting together sub theme for that Bootstrap 5, and half of my clients can differentiate between Bootstrap and Backdrop. So there's a, whatever this thing, bootstrap, backdrop, doesn't really matter. Just show me that it works. So yeah, this is great news. I also think that we, in my discussions, I'm very, I want to make sure that we're very respectful to everyone around us and to other CMSs. I don't think saying anything bad about other CMSs helps anyone. I think that backdrop is modern system. It is it's very powerful, and it can live for a long time, and it doesn't need to compare it to other systems. We're all grateful to Drupal and Drupal developers who developed Drupal 7. Drupal 9 is Enterprise Edition. Backdrop is Community Edition. They are different. They have very different backend. They have very similar experiences for site builders, but they are very different. And there's absolutely no need to compare. And this recent amount, I think that it's very respectful of Drupal Association to say, we respect our community, we see community trends, and if we need to extend support, we will extend support. And I think recognizing good things works better than the other way around. It's kind of, today is a very sad day for me, so I'm very preaching mode. But I'm very excited to see new design, and I'd be happy to volunteer whatever time I can, and I need a lot of work these days to get through this, this work. So the more work I have, the better it is for me. I'm taking every project that I can, and I will be happy to work with someone, especially with Mika and Darius and Jen, to make this layout happen, and layouts, designs all together. So yeah, just tell me, how to log into it, and I'll start coding. So yeah, tell me whether you want to have like a separate design committee or whatever is the process.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that.
Great. All right, so there's nothing else specifically on our agenda for today. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up in the meeting?
Back on the temporary design, do we have an issue in the backdrop CMS.org queue to start implementing that? Because I found it a smart, solution for the current problems that we have temporarily.
Okay.
We should do it.
Yep.
I liked it.
Great.
And also, I would like to take the opportunity to say, do you remember, guys, the first iteration of the theme with the drawer that was coming from the left?
It's a long time ago.
It was.
So we have an issue for the design problem, but I don't think we have an implementation issue. I'll check. We might be able to use the same one. Front page top section. No, we do. This is very specific. This is perfect. Irina wrote this. Thank you, Irina. Okay, so this is issue number 869 in the backdropcms.org queue. Just talking about like how can we use that space to be more efficient, and this is an answer to that question. So I'll drop a screenshot of this design in there. We can
link to issue in
Zulip.
chat.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else,
well, if no one else has anything else to bring up, I would like some preliminary feedback in one of the issues. I'll say the issue, and maybe it's best fit for Contrib, but it's related to some of the sessions that I will be facilitating in the Backdrop Live with regards to content editor experience. So this is issue 5519, which aims to allow site builders to specify which menu they want to use for the admin menu per role. So if they want to use a completely different menu for content editors, they could do that. So there's a few things. First of all, there's a few issues that have been brought up recently that would enhance the experience. It's like only 20 lines of code, like very minimal code. But this is one of those such issues where more lines of code were just to put the fields in a table rather than implementing the feature. But yeah, in general, also feedback with regards to such issues, would they be better, instead of being implemented in core, be a form of a section in the documentation, which is titled how to deliver a better experience for content editors out of the box, which is basically a set of recipes and how-tos for site builders of best practices when you're delivering your project. So I don't know if it's us putting the tools that these people need in core or giving them a set of instructions that they can follow. So yeah.
Anyone have any thoughts on that? I have thoughts. I'm adding a comment.
Thank you.
Is there a issue number for this? Sorry.
Issue 5519.
Yes.
5519.
Yep. And this could easily live in Contrib, but this goes back to our discussion of recommended modules, how we would sort of like have some recommended modules. I would like to have a way for people to have, I don't know if it's the recipes that would do that, because there's a lot of options and a lot of opinionated things that could go and get into this, but this is a whole guide of how you shouldn't be exposing developer stuff into like content editors and giving them access to only what they need to get the job done out of the box. And since we have a role, have introduced a role in Backdrop as in Drupal for content editors, I would like us, if possible, to sort of like make the experience for this user group as a target audience much better. So if a solution such as Backdrop is quote unquote imposed on the actual site owner, they actually feel good about it. They say, yep, this is a tool that I can easily use. I don't have to navigate around a lot of menus and things like that. And content editors are given as much out of the box as possible, only the permissions that they need and access only to the menus that they need, and nothing that would confuse them even further.
Yeah, all of that's already in Backdrop Core. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure I see a use case for this feature in Core. I could see how some people might want like a different menu that doesn't include links to the things editors have ability to access. But everything is already access controlled in admin bar. So we already
Yes.
provide that feature. As long as you put the check mark in there, they see it. And if you take it
Yes.
out, they don't. So yeah, I think
But-
if you have a use case of like, this is not an ideal editorial experience with only 2 menu links or whatever, I would like to revisit that problem.
Yep.
Rather than being like, let's force people to build a new menu and create the experience and change what we've provided in Core.
Yeah. So I do have do we have time? Yeah. So one of the
There's
most
like, I've got
obvious
5
things,
more issues for that.
No. Yes. Actually, and that's why
Yeah.
yeah. That's why I added a session. I want to discuss these sort of things in Backdrop Live and get some feedback as well. But one of the main issues that comes to mind is this very obvious thing. As a site builder, you say some of the menus I want, like the primary navigation menu, I want people to be able to edit it. Why do content editors have to go to a menu that is called structure in order to edit the menu when that's the only menu that they will be editing? So there's a need for them to just have three, like the admin bar for them should be people, users, whatever they call it, for those content editors that also manage user accounts on the site, menus and content. That's it. So why would you hide a content editor-oriented feature under a thing that is called structure? So you need that thing for site builders, but you need the very same item exposed to content editors. So as a developer, if I was asked to provide a better experience, I would create a separate menu for that, only targeted for content editors. And I would like that menu to be able to add it as the default for that role in the admin bar.
Yeah, that's a lot of assumptions you're making though about what editors can do. And I think that's one of the problems with Backdrop is that if you look at 10 different sites, the number of things in that structure menu is going to be different for an editor. I think that we could also put some of these things in into the way that we build menus, where like if there's only one child item, give people the option to remove the parent item. That's also true for like there's contrib modules that'll put in like new top level items with one link in them too. So I could see this working for like not just the items that we are providing, but anything you put into the menu could follow that same pattern too, which could be valuable.
Yep, that was just an example, but usually content editors handle one or two menu items, like the header, the navigation, and the footer, perhaps. That's the most common use case. And then they also handle one vocabulary, right, which is called tags. Why, again, have them go into structure, vocabularies, tags, and, to manage things? It's expose just three items, whatever they most commonly do. We shouldn't be exposing developer or site builder features to content editors because it gives them more options that they don't need, and that sort of like complicates and gives the impression that the system is more complex than it is. So that's the goal. That's hence the UX bit at the beginning. Irina, you said that you wanted to ask something or comment?
I wanted to contribute. I think that there is the existing solution to this problem for a while using secondary menu. I'll be happy to showcase it in the meeting. I mean, in the Backdrop demo, because we have this set up for a long time, where there's the preset default. The content editors have their own menu, and it works very well because every content editor will change it. In addition to having like default links, they also keep adding their own links that are related to their specific content.
I think that's what Toolbar was in.
Yeah, and it exists there. It exists there. It just needs to be highlighted and maybe more exposed, but it doesn't require any additional coding. And also there's this concept of shortcuts. I apologize, I have to leave what soon as I wanted to say thank you very much. And Jen, where should I expect communication about the design stuff? Zoom, email?
It'll be in the issue queue for backdropcms.org, and I can mention you, so it'll send you an
yes,
email.
That would be great, because without notification, I can easily miss it. But yeah, that's perfect. Thank you guys so much, and wishing everyone to have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I feel like part of the reason I removed shortcut from Backdrop is because nobody used it, and that could have just been that it wasn't designed well enough to meet the exact need. Like it might have been too abstract or too, unfriendly or something. But yeah, there's definitely a use for that. And I think that if we can find a winning Drupal 7 solution.
I used it.
You use shortcuts?
Yeah.
Did your editors use it?
I don't know. I always used it for like sites that didn't have whatever the better admin menu was to bookmark the clear caches page. It's like
me to clear caches.
So the trigger for these these things was a series of blogs or something that I was reading. I can't remember what I was researching, and then I came across it and I was like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. This would be a so much better experience for content editors. And then the person was arguing that if people come to you with small budget, then tweaking all these things to provide that experience takes time, which of course you have to take down to the customer, so you have to build them. But if you provided like a few switches or one switch or something out of the box that allowed small digital shops like freelancers to tweak backdrop in a way that would provide backdrop out of the box, content editor ready, then they wouldn't have to charge their customers more. They just, would make their lives easier. They would provide that out of the box. And then it's not just the developers that think highly of backdrop, but also the end customer says, yeah, that's what I was expecting, less confusion and things like that. So yeah. And I'm not arguing that this can be done in Contrib. It's just that we can also do like a blog post and, as I said, best practices for delivering a site that content editors would be happy about. It's just that translates to time. People going through the list and actually doing these things instead of out of the box. As I said, the solution might be a recipe or something. Could be that as well.
I like that as a recipe too. That's a good idea.
Or a starter distribution, backdrop distribution, or installation profile, or whatever you want. Cool.
All right. Looks like people are starting to join for the developer meeting. Any final thoughts on design or user experience?
The only thing is that, which is related to that, is that working on that issue, most times that when we need to add fields, like form API fields on a table, what we usually do is we have another theme function, and then we do the table placing thing in that function. And I have found I have borrowed from the internet a very sleek, like, 20 lines of code thing that doesn't require any custom theme functions. And I'll probably get that code somewhere so that people can see it. And maybe we can streamline that process for developers so that they can easily theme their forms to be added in a table format without having to do custom functions. Okay. Should we end this meeting and then prepare for the dev meeting?
I think that sounds good. And go ahead and stop recording.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.